Hello and welcome to Out of Sight's Artist Focus program. My name is Carron Little and today I'm in conversation with Dimple B Shah, who's based in Bangalore, India. I'm going to start the program by sharing some of her work. Two pieces, one called Negotiating Purity and another called The Laboratory of Survival, that is part of a group of work inspired by the pandemic. And then I'm going to introduce Dimple and we're going to start a conversation about her work, and then we invite you to ask questions at the end of the conversation. Okay, so I'm gonna, so this first performance work that I'm going to share is by Dimple B Shah and it's called Negotiating Purity.
Spread it evenly, so that you can make a palm.
And this next piece of work is part of a sequence of 8 performances done so far that are really about the pandemic and COVID. So that this next piece is it was, I think, the second performance in this 8 performance series. So I'm just going to share the screen here. Hello and welcome to the broadcasting channel for Out of Sight. And today we are with the artist Dimple B Shah. Dimple B Shah is an interdisciplinary practice, and she has a practice in painting, printmaking, installation, and performance art. She has been honored with many national and international awards. Among them, she received the ROSL International Residency in UK 2019, the Villa Welbreta Residency by the Municipal Corporation of Munich in 2017, India Foundation of the Arts grant for Project 560 in 2014, and Afiriperforma International Residency in Lagos, Nigeria, 2013. She won the first Gold Prize in the 7th Engraving Biennale in Versailles in 2009, and the National Award LKA Government of India in 2008. She's won the Commonwealth Arts and Crafts Award in the UK in 2005, and the Erasmus Award in 2004 for a junior fellowship. She has performed at many international performance festivals and biennales in Zurich, Paris, Munich, Gothenburg, and Lagos, Colombo, Dhaka, and many places in India. So it is with great honor that I am sitting here. And Dimple performed in the Out of Sight program that we live streamed in collaboration with Experimental Sound Studio on October 1st this past year. So it's wonderful to be here with you, Dimple. And the first thing I wanted to ask you was, when we just screened 2 videos of your previous performances, and one was entitled Negotiating Purity, that you performed in Manchester in 2018. Could you describe these these intimate one-to-one experiences with the public are highly confidential, and there's, ethical issues when it comes to documentation. But I'm wondering if you could describe, um, while retaining the confidentiality, what one of the public participants' experience was.
Although this performance are one-to-one interaction, but I don't cross the borderline of, I do touch them in a very upper level, but then it is more one-to-one in a way, like, uh, and it is kept as a personal and private, since I have a closing, like a space where, the outside world can just see a kind of an solitude image, but then the intimate things is happening within our own space, and sometimes I don't even document the inner part. It's only the sounds and voices which they hear, so. And I also don't ask my audience to tell very personal things to me, but I ask them to write it down where they feel comfortable. I have a kind of would have arranged in my performance where they can express those intimate things in a way that it doesn't reveal me, but they are still revealing, they're coming out those emotions and moments. So I do follow this guidelines.
So, in negotiating purity, you moved from the outside, from the public space, to this inside space. And within the interior space, which was very much an installation, there was this private space within that. Could you share an experience of one of the public participants that? What kind of experience did they have in this intimate space?
The experience of each audience is very different. It differs. Sometimes for some audience it takes time to get in and express themselves, and some artists are mentally prepared, when they are coming in, and they are because I had given an instruction outside also, so although this performance was supposed to be like in half an hour performance, it had to be extended for 2.5 hours, because there were like people waiting outside to come and talk to me. So and some of them were like very open in expressing it, and so usually they don't tell when they are performing or when they are with me, but then when performance finish, then they come and talk to me, like, sometimes they're not comfortable, but they're experiencing it. They're experiencing that very moment. For me, my act helps them to kind of um, trigger their emotion, trigger their thought, trigger their psychological point, and that I feel it's quite crucial. So like one of the performer who was also a kind of an Indian, but maybe their forefathers were, migrated as a slaves, um, pre-independence time, and they were dislocated, and when they confronted with me, so they had like they felt connected with the rituals, because it's very much Indian rituals which I followed there, and it was kind of an emotional kind of a journey for them, and it really triggered their even their artists, so it really triggered their idea of how they can use and things, the rituals in their works also. So that was a quite a transforming for me. And few people did talk personal things, like very few things, but I which I cannot tell here. But yeah, it was a kind of quite crucial kind of an exchange which between me and my audience.
Yes, and you talk about this, like the audience knowing what experience they're about to enter into. So, like providing these instructions of care to facilitate the process. And when an audience, and you know, in our previous conversation when we were discussing this work, you shared about how the audience drew an image. They were given an instruction and they drew an image in some rice in front of you within this private space.
Yes.
And then then you gave them a further instruction, and it was about opening up. You know, you talk about this act of transformation, you know, perhaps with the Indian person that came to see you, this kind of connecting with their history, their cultural history that has been lost by the migration. And how you're able to kind of open these windows. I call it like an opening a window, like this moment of transformation. Now, in you know, why why as I know myself, you know, because I do my own intimate one-to-one performances, and in this process there is a transformation that happens for the public participant. Some it's deeper than others. It really depends on the openness to the experience and the levels of interpretation. Um, why is it important for you to create these transformative experiences for the public?
To explain that, I have to explain to go a little backwards, because I used to do very spontaneous and emotive performances in front of audience, where I'm just doing some action and they're getting whatever they're getting it. So at one point when I went to Glasgow, there came the element of alchemy and things like that. And then later, when I developed my research and developed my ideas, at one moment I used to create only paintings, paintings and prints for alchemy, just visual language, as a visual vocabulary. But then
Shall we share some of those? Shall I bring up the screen for that?
okay.
Would you like me to?
So those visual vocabularies were like were not helping me. I thought the purpose of doing this research should be something in content, where I can use this healing process as a core element for the work, kind of it has to transform something. My audience have to experience the transformation, or it has the purpose of this alchemical, what to say, medicines or healing products have to have a both impact, not only at the physical level. It has to have a psychological and mental level also, spiritual level also. So in my work, in performance work, I started using organic materials, which are like extracted resource from nature, like the Ayurvedic substances like turmeric or milk or an ash, or to cleanse things. So I felt that this element, bringing this elements in my work, makes a quite crucial change. And then I also thought that not just having an interaction, like dividing the audience from one part and I'm in one part, but rather than having a conversation with them will have more impact. And that's how one-to-one interaction started coming in my work.
So yeah, so really thinking about this idea of, I wanted to actually ask, you talked about the alchemy. your research into alchemy, and again thinking about how these moments of transformation can be created as an experience for the audience. So you're really kind of prioritizing the experience of the public. How was your research into alchemy influenced your work over? I mean, you've been making performances for 19 years. And I'm wondering if you could talk about, my father was a theologian, and his focus was world religions. And so I was very fascinated before I met you, to learn about the fact your Jainism, because this is one of the most ancient religions that exists. And I'd actually just created a sculpture based on the actions inspired by Jain's religion. And, what is there a point at which your religion, your theology, and your study of alchemy intersect? And at what point did that happen for you, and what was the inspiration for that?
Yeah, that change happened when I went for my further studies under Commonwealth to Glasgow. And Glasgow, it's very gray, and and it's totally, I felt like hollowness in the whole culture. People are coming and going and coming and going, but then there is no much interaction happening. And what I did was I started searching, at least if there is something in text where they talk about spiritualism. So then I started going to Goma, and I came across these books on alchemy. And there I thought, there is something like, where there is a spiritual search, in like talking about four elements and spiritual search, and those allegorical paintings, and where it talks about sun, moon, all four elements and the soul, and things like that. And I found, wow, this is something amazing which I never knew. And so I started exploring those things, and then I coincided, because I'm already have this philosophies of Jainism with me from my birth. So like, I've been like brought up in that culture, so there is that thing in that, element in that. And then I started incorporating this alchemy and Jainism in my work. I started doing a still photographs, and also self shooting videos of me becoming a monk in Glasgow. So I have so many works which are where I've dressed up like a Jain monk, and I took stills, and then I also used it in my print, because my residency was for printmaking. So I kind of reused in a photo etching works and things like that. So somehow I was gelling up in a theoretical way these two aspects of philosophies from alchemy and Indian kind of Jainist kind of philosophy. And this were coming in kind of juxtapositions and layered works. So these were a few works which I created. Then when I came back to India, I said, see, this alchemy has a Western perspective. Now I've learned a little bit about it, but then what is, do we have that kind of in background in alchemy in Indian context? So then I explored this Rasa Sastra, which talks about Indian alchemy, and it goes way back to 2000 to 3000 year, where they have this process of alchemical preparation of mercury, and kind of transforming it into a gold, pure gold. So these are like chemical calculations, but at philosophical level also, everybody was searching for philosophical gold, emerald tablet and things like that. So there is something which we are talking in a metaphoric terms, not in a real terms, when we are talking in context of art, when we are talking in context of performance or something. So then I started doing paintings, and this helped me to create few more installations, which were where I used for elements like salt, ash, and my own hair and things like that. And during that time, I started thinking that this is fine, that these are like medicinal things which I'm trying to find out, but then what is the purpose of it, how I can use this healing and medicinal things in kind of transformation in performance art. That's how it the alchemy started coming in my work, and then more and more research on Indian alchemical substances, where in Ayurveda also they talk about healing things, and then it you start connecting with very core nature and ecology, and then we talk about organic materials, basic things from our household, like turmeric, salt, milk, how they have this healing properties. And this healing properties, learning of healing properties comes through generation in our family also. My granny, whenever we used to have some stomach pain, and she'll say, okay, mix these two things and just gulp it with water, and within 10 minutes that stomach pain is gone. So these are like ancient home medicines which we have been using, but we never thought consciously how it can be useful. So then I started incorporating all these elements in my work, and that's how alchemy and performance and healing and yeah, ecology all comes in one frame, so there are several layers and perspectives which I try to incorporate in my work.
It's interesting because you talked about your Glasgow, and I was very much empathizing with this. Glasgow being this city, with hollowness. And I grew up there in the early 70s. I'm dating myself here, but when it was a very concrete black city, I used to have to cross the motorway to go to nursery school. But I'm thinking about the experience you shared of the first public participant um, in negotiating purity, and how their family had been imported as slave migrants to the UK, and I think part of the issue of the hollowness is down to the brutal colonialism that English rule has imposed on Scotland. And, this gets defined within a class system in the UK. So it uproots. There is a kind of uprootedness that occurs when histories and knowledges are annihilated. And I think what's really fascinating about your work, Dimple, is you're really searching for these lost narratives in the practice. And that takes me to the next performance that we showed today, which was called Laboratory of Survival. And, where you're using these alchemical processes to define the structure and the score of this pandemic series. And you were talking about, one of the major things we're talking about today is this act of transformation that can occur. And I was analyzing the titles of the pandemic sequence of performances that you've done. You've now done 8. And it kind of takes us on this kind of Christiva, when you go through horror, you can reach enlightenment, this kind of process of the abject. And because the first title is Appearance of Dark Matter, laboratory of survival, survival and coexistence, nirvana, um, path to Afiriperforma, externalizing the essence of revelation. So you're taking us on this experience of transformation through the pandemic. Can you talk about you know like your inspiration for this series of work and how it also intersects with your concepts of shamanistic ritual, because these have become more ritualistic pieces.
So the first thing when we were struck with this pandemic, it's the first thing we encounter is the fear. So obviously I'm no exclusion. The fear is within us every time, and that triggered me to a lot of things. I started kind of searching things where we can find like how we can protect ourselves, how we can strengthen ourselves. So I think everybody were doing it in one way or the other way, but then I was also trying to find out ways through ayurveda and psychologically how we can fight this. So the laboratory of survival was a kind of a psychological, more of psychological fight at that moment, because still I was not knowing much about like how to fight with medicines and things like that. So it was a more of an kind of a psychological traumatic confusions and fears which I was fighting. And I was very kind of what to say, spontaneous to react to that kind of an stage emotion, I can say. And that's what is coming in that work. When you see that breathing, that is what we want to survive. We want to survive, and we are struggling to do that, but we don't know the way. And even when my work goes to the terrace where I'm kind of wrapped with the silver foil, which is you know which we use it to protect food. Like silver foil is wrapped to not to decay the food, but then it becomes a paradoxical act with a human live person. You will suffocate in 10 minutes. I was suffocating in that. And so sometimes we tend to do this kind of paradoxical act to get a revelation kind of what can be done and how we can survive. But it's like protecting my body. I was trying to do that with that silver foil from a virus. So but then it is difficult to breathe in. So this was one context, and other was like I was also trying to find out like scientific ways of knowing the virus, how to identify. So appearance of dark matter was a kind of an exploration, like how we can see this virus, because at starting people said then it's not visible through a naked eye. So I want to find out, when somebody comes with a coronavirus, how will you identify that?
Well,
It's
it's interesting because the fear becomes a metaphor for self-destruction, which
yes.
exactly, when that is, a metaphor within itself. Um, but this idea of the lost narrative and really kind of searching for these ancient truths, can you kind of, is there a particular performance in this series that is really kind of can you describe what narrative you're trying to communicate?
So actually, when you had proposed for out of sight, I thought of doing this ritual, which is more to go with like searching a pandemic goddess in my own culture. And then you find out that there is a goddess who is there. People worship her. And then there are like few elements like weapons of her. The broom was a weapon of her. How you cleanse the things around, thing. So it's like more metaphoric and symbolic. So and I wanted to go beyond this time to find out the answer. And then there are like some healing materials in Ayurveda, and and this was circulated all over in India, to drink turmeric water, hot decoction with the lemon and things like that. So these are very core Ayurvedic treatments which people were doing it, although there is.
Just to share with the audience, so in the lead up to the Out of Sight performance, in collaboration with Experimental Sound Studio, we shared a recipe for a cleansing drink, a tea, that was made out of lemon, turmeric, and salt, I think, were the main ingredients. And you had to boil the water, and then you added the lemon and the turmeric and the salt, and you let it sit for a while. So while the performances, while Dimple was doing her performance, I was drinking this wonderful cleansing potion. But this idea of color, how you're exploring these lost narratives, and you're searching, through. We've been given a very narrow understanding of our history through the history books. I mean, I even have a book of enlightenment on my shelf where all the text, has been rewritten to use the word English instead of actually Scottish or British. And so this distortion, we're really kind of dealing with a distorted vision of our history. And being a Jainist and growing up in this ancient culture that has roots going way back, and how are you, what are the sources that you're drawing upon to create, and how is this? Can you give like specific examples of how you're re-envisioning these narratives in a specific piece of work?
To talk about, like, we have our own roots, and sometimes it is reinterpreted during British time. What is our identity and how we will be looked, and we were like measured ethnically, and so the histories were written when British came, like about which ethnic group we belong, which category we belong, and but there was very organic and generic people living here, and there were cultures which were shared, so you have to go beyond which is already written. So if you go to kind of an village culture where there are oral histories, which is transmitted through, not through textbook, but the oral histories through songs, to folk songs, to folk rituals. So I try to find those narratives which goes much beyond this 70 years of independence and British period, and then beyond that it takes there to me. So even when you talk about Ayurveda, when you talk about, it is quite ancient. So when we try to re-explore, when we try to relearn those things, then I think we rewrite our own identity in a real sense. And there are a lot of things which we have lost. There were so many languages which is lost. So it's like, now there are 200 or 300 recognized language, but we had more than that. We had around 1200 languages. They're all lost, but we need to find those. We need to, whatever is still there, we have to maintain those. And there are various sources, like, through folk songs, folk histories, oral histories. So oral histories, India has a long culture of oral history,
Mm,
so that is the key source for us to learn about ourselves.
yeah.
And also there are a lot of text, like in the ancient text, which you can refer. And there are alchemy also, there are like a lot of text written by a lot of sages. Like Nagarjuna was one of the famous scholar who wrote about alchemy and things like that. And so there are a lot of other things apart from when we go beyond British period, kind of.
Thank you. So I am going to touch on that on the oral history, because I know that you've done a public performance based on that. But I want to take a moment to open it up to people in the audience who are listening to this now, and to see if anybody has a question for Dimple. So please type that in the chat box if you have a question for Dimple. And while we're waiting, I was wondering if you could share the public performance that you did. I think it last year that you did in the square.
No, this is little 2014.
Okay.
So yeah, I did a kind of a project which was funded by India Foundation of Arts, for arts, and it was called Project 560. 560 is a pin code for Bangalore, and I wanted to work with the historical and cultural element of my area. And that is where I explored the oral histories of the stories, the local stories from senior citizens of my area, so they used to come and share the story. So I had put this tent, which is made with natural element and which is used for marriages, but then had used it for my performance, and I had created that, and then was used. And I was sitting for a whole long day, and the senior citizens, uh, the passers by, they used to come and narrate the stories, of particular site or particular space, and what was the stories. And so I have recorded all that. It is very much important that we also know our so many history is lost because it's not recorded. It is always, the stories are there, the people are there, but then it is never registered in textbooks, or so I felt that it is very important to talk to them and pick up those kind of stories, and get the knowledge of past. That's what was my attempt. Is there any question for us?
Does anybody have a question for Dimple? Because that's now, what was the process for creating a public? Oh, here we have one from Duff. Do you feel any separation between art and shamanism?
Art and shamanism, it coexists. You cannot separate yourself from your kind of your own self. It goes together. As an artist, I'm an artist also, and the shamanism is within me, so you cannot really separate it. But then at one point you can separate aesthetically, and at one point you can separate it as a science. At one point you can separate it as a kind of knowledge. So these are the way of kind of dissecting, but then overall the beauty is there when you accumulate everything. The rose is beautiful only when you put the petals together, not dissecting the petals. So I feel it's a complete when you art and shamanism. For me, it goes hand in hand.
Because there is this desire to categorize and compartmentalize everything, but when we see them together and when we use all the resources that are open to us, we can, it's a sense of one that, one can work into infinity in a way, or this infinite action. This takes me to another point. How is, when we're talking about art and shamanism, how are you thinking about this in terms of ecology within your work, as an ecology within your work?
Ecology is all it's very important in sense, like shamanism is also based with the natural powers. It is basically to connect with those core energy, like air, earth, water, all these five elements. The shamanism comes from there. And nature is a very core element in shamanism. And we are through shamanism, it's like evoking the spiritual spirits of this elements. And so I feel there is a deep connection between ecology and shamanism, and rituals and art. So I feel I don't feel that demarcation, but I also connect to ecology as a female, as a feminine energy, kind of. So there I deeply connect with this trees and flowers and plants and things like that. So the element of ecofeminism also comes in. And ecology becomes a quite crucial in my work, because alchemy talks about finding essence from nature to heal yourself. So this becomes a core element in my work.
Yes, and you're thinking about, well, this idea of these works are almost holding up the mirror to our times as well. And thinking about ecology and the environment is the most critical crisis that we're facing right now. And part of this is interwoven with feminine power. And you were just sharing before we came on today what's happening in Bangalore or right now as a festival.
Yeah, we are having this Durga festival, the feminine energy, and we celebrate the nine incarnation of this feminine energy. And every day there is one element which is evoked, and we celebrate by kind of doing rituals and things, praying the and offering her food and flour and everything. And we also consciously and subconsciously evoke that spirit within us. So it's very kind of an how to say, spiritual environment.
So yeah, and it's these rituals of divine or divination are happening right now as we speak. So I just wanted to share that with you all. So just to summarize the conversation that we had with Dimple today, we were talking about um, the act of transformation, and how the act of transformation is very much is part of what the audience, it's really dependent on what the audience brings to the work, and how they view their own life as a journey of learning, and it depends on how open the window is. That's a kind of metaphor. depending on how big a transformation that can happen when you engage with Dimple's work. And really thinking about um, alchemy and the processes, rituals, um, and these ancient ecological ceremonies that have happened, that have almost been lost. We talked about the annihilation of languages that has disappeared, local languages that has lost knowledge as part of that, and how there is not a difference between um, art, shamanism, and alchemy, and the interwoven um, knowledge that we can utilize in our practices as artists. I did want to talk to you about this idea of practice, but we are. Is there anything else that you would like to share? That do you have any up and coming performances or announcements?
Yes, I'm performing on 31st, Becoming a Tree. It is a UK based group, Becoming a Tree, who is organizing this event. And I'm going to do 1 hour durational performance, a kind of a conversation with my plants for an hour.
Wonderful. And will that be in Zoom or will that be broadcast?
That will be in Zoom, yeah.
Okay, okay. Well, we'll share the link to that on our Facebook page.
Yes.
And if Out of Sight as an organization began to support performance artists. So if you would like to support Dimple in her work, feel you can send her a PayPal. The money is a little PayPal donation through to this email. And Out of Sight is also an organization that supports public performance in public space. And next year, we're working to develop a whole series of programming. So if you wish to support the work we do, please subscribe to the Out of Sight channel through Twitch, or you can make a fiscally a tax deductible donation through our website, through our fiscal organization, Experimental Sound Studio. So thank you so much for joining us today and listening and hearing about Dimple B Shah's work. So have a wonderful week. And tomorrow, next Saturday, we will be interviewing Martine Vial, who performed for Out of Sight in the first year of Out of Sight in 2011. So please join us next Saturday at 11:15 a.m. And
Thank you, Karen,
for listening.
for inviting me, and it was wonderful talking to you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Conversation.
Thank you.
Okay.